They were like family, but sometimes family fights the hardest, Smokey Robinson admits at 84, finally breaking decades of silence. Now he opens up about his legendary partnership with The Temptations, revealing untold stories, hidden tensions, and moments that change Motown forever. What he shares will surprise you and change everything you thought you knew about their bond. The spark of a timeless bond. In the early 1960s, a meeting at Motown's Hitsville, USA studio changed the course of music history. Smokey Robinson, then the lead singer of The Miracles, was introduced to The Temptations, a group full of raw talent but searching for guidance. That encounter would lead to some of the most enduring songs in Motown's legendary catalog and mark the beginning of a collaboration that would shape the sound of a generation. William Robinson Jr. was born in Detroit to working-class parents who had little money but plenty of love. His life was complicated from the start. His two sisters shared the same mother but had different fathers. Although his parents divorced when he was 3, they remained united in how they raised him. My mom used to say, "You're going to have to take care of him after I'm gone, so you love him." I don't know how she knew that. And my dad would say, "You gotta love your mom because she's a great woman." Even though they couldn't stay in the same room for 5 minutes together, they still promoted each other to me. By the age of 4, his Uncle Claude had nicknamed him Smokey Joe. If you asked me what my name was, I'd say Smokey Joe because I'm a cowboy. Even my teachers called me it. The name stuck until Joe became surplus. Life dealt him another blow at the age of 10 when his mother died. His older sister Geraldine and her husband, who already had 10 children, moved into the family home and cared for him as if he were child number 11 while his father lived upstairs. He was a bright boy, conscientious and determined, who originally planned to study dentistry. When he realized that dentistry required dissecting animals, he changed course and opted for electrical engineering instead. His real dream was to become a singer. But back then, he believed people from his background didn't do that kind of thing. Robinson's early life shaped his deep understanding of love, resilience, and human connection, traits that would later surface in his songwriting. When Berry Gordy, the founder of Motown, noticed the Temptations struggling to find their unique sound, he saw an opportunity to pair them with Robinson. Gordy believed Robinson's songwriting could elevate their music, giving them the structure and soul they needed to reach audiences everywhere. Robinson's first major contribution to the Temptations was the song "The Way You Do, the Things You Do." It was a perfect blend of melody, charm, and energy that showcased his skill at capturing human emotion in music. It quickly became a hit and signaled a new era for both Robinson and the group. In an interview with Howard Stern, Robinson shared, "Were it not for the Temptations, I probably would have never written My Girl." That simple statement revealed the deep impact the group had on his creative life and hinted at the mutual respect that would carry their partnership forward. The magic between Robinson and the Temptations was immediate. They complemented each other in ways that only great artists could, with Robinson's songwriting giving the group a voice that would echo for decades. But as their success grew, so did the complexities of their relationship, and not everything was as harmonious behind the scenes as it seemed on stage. Rising stars and hidden tensions. As the Temptations' popularity skyrocketed in the mid-1960s, a new reality began to settle in. The group was no longer just a talented ensemble struggling to make a name. They were rising stars with songs topping the charts and audiences filling theaters. But with fame came pressures that were harder to handle than any stage performance. Behind the smooth harmonies and perfectly choreographed routines, cracks were forming. The members of the Temptations were passionate about their music and wanted a say in how it was made. David Ruffin, in particular, had a burning desire to shine as a lead singer. He had a natural charisma that drew attention and a voice that could make hearts melt. But that same ambition created friction within the group. Robinson observed, "David wanted the spotlight. He deserved it in many ways, but that created tension with the others. It was never about being selfish, but sometimes being a star means wanting more than just your share." Motown, led by Berry Gordy, had a clear vision for the label and its artists. Gordy believed in a disciplined approach to music production, controlling every detail from songwriting to stage performance. While this structure helped create some of the greatest hits in history, it also left little room for the individual voices of the artists. Robinson once said in an interview, "Barry had a system that worked, and we all benefited from it. But sometimes the rules felt like walls. You wanted to say something, to try something different, and it wasn't always allowed." These creative differences often played out behind the scenes. Arguments over lead vocals, song choices, and choreography were common. Members had ideas they believed would elevate their music. While Gordy and his team focused on commercial success, Robinson admitted balancing what the group wanted and what the label needed was always a tightrope walk. We all loved music, but we loved it in different ways. Robinson's role as a songwriter and mentor often placed him in the middle. He wanted to help the group succeed while respecting their individuality. In a conversation about that time, he shared, "I wanted them to feel free to express themselves, but I also knew that freedom without guidance could sometimes hurt them. It was a delicate balance, and I learned a lot about patience and understanding during those years." Amidst the rising tensions, a feud would soon threaten to unravel their bond and change the course of their journey forever. The feud that shook Motown. David Ruffin, with his magnetic voice and commanding stage presence, was a natural star, but his desire for solo recognition created rifts that would change the course of the group. Ruffin's ambitions were clear to everyone around him. He wanted to be more than just one voice among many. He wanted the spotlight and the creative control that came with being a solo artist. Robinson recalled, "David had a voice that could stop a room. He deserved attention, but he wanted more than what the group could give him." That created tension because the rest of the guys were trying to hold the band together. The group's dynamics began to shift as Ruffin increasingly sought lead vocals and control over song selections. This was not a matter of personal dislike, but a clash of priorities. The Temptations had always functioned as a team, with each member contributing to a collective sound. Ruffin's push for solo recognition threatened that unity. Robinson explained, "You could feel it on stage sometimes. The harmony would falter not because of talent, but because of egos and unspoken frustrations. I could see how it affected them, and I had to find ways to help without taking sides." The tipping point came in 1968. Ruffin's behavior had grown erratic. He missed rehearsals, clashed with bandmates, and made demands that were increasingly difficult to meet. The group, after much deliberation, made the painful decision to dismiss him. The public fallout was dramatic. Ruffin accused the group of betrayal and claimed they had stifled his talent. Meanwhile, the Temptations cited his unreliability and inability to function as part of a team. Fans were stunned by the tension behind the scenes, and tabloids quickly seized on the drama. For Robinson, the situation was a delicate one. He had been a mentor and collaborator to the group, guiding them in songwriting and production. Yet he was careful not to intervene directly. In an interview, he reflected, "I watched it all unfold. I knew David's ambition was part of who he was, but it was tearing at the fabric of the group. I could advise, I could write songs that highlighted everyone, but ultimately they had to handle their own business." But even as one chapter closed, another controversy was on the horizon, threatening to test the bonds of the Temptations and those who guided them. The Temptations' evolution. After David Ruffin's departure, the Temptations faced a turning point that would define the next chapter of their career. The group had already left a lasting mark on Motown, but change was inevitable. Losing a voice as distinctive as Ruffin's forced the members to rethink their sound and adapt to a music landscape that was rapidly evolving. What followed was a period of experimentation, reinvention, and the testing of bonds that had held them together through fame and tension. The first major shift came with the arrival of Dennis Edwards, a singer with a powerful voice and commanding presence. His energy brought a new dynamic to the group and allowed them to explore sounds they had never attempted before. Robinson noted, "Dennis had a voice that was raw, real, and fearless. He pushed the group into areas they hadn't gone, and it was exciting to see them take risks. That's what music is about, stepping into the unknown." Musically, the Temptations began to embrace psychedelic soul, blending funk, rock, and socially conscious lyrics into their Motown roots. Songs like Cloud 9 and Psychedelic Shack reflected a group willing to challenge expectations. The experimental nature of these tracks signaled that the Temptations were not just entertainers, but artists unafraid to address deeper themes. The sound was different, edgier, and reflected the changing times. Robinson explained, "The Temptations were always evolving, and I admired their willingness to take risks. They weren't content with repeating the same formulas. They wanted to grow, and that growth came with both rewards and struggles." Lineup changes were constant during this period, which added pressure to the group's cohesion. Members came and went for a variety of reasons, from personal issues to creative differences. Each edition brought new energy, but also new challenges. Maintaining harmony, both vocally and personally, became an ongoing task. Robinson, who worked closely with the group as a songwriter and mentor, reflected on this delicate balance. Every time someone left or joined, the group had to find its footing again. That instability could be tough, but it also kept them sharp. They had to listen to each other, adapt, and trust one another if they wanted to survive in the industry. Despite the internal challenges, the Temptations' music continued to resonate with audiences. They proved that reinvention could coexist with commercial success, and that they could push boundaries without losing the essence of what made them Motown legends. Their willingness to explore new sounds and themes ensured their relevance in a competitive and rapidly changing musical world. Behind the scenes, the pressures of constant change, creative disagreements, and the demands of fame created an undercurrent of tension that would later surface in unexpected ways. Robinson observed, "You could hear the evolution in their music, but I also knew that the more they pushed themselves, the more they risked conflicts. Growth always comes with challenges." That time, beneath the surface, a huge storm was brewing that would test their legacy and challenge everything they had built together. The biggest controversy unfolds. In 2025, the music world was shaken by news that no one could have anticipated. 4 former housekeepers came forward with allegations against Smokey Robinson, accusing him of misconduct over several years. The claims quickly became the subject of intense media coverage and public debate, drawing attention not just to Robinson himself, but to the private lives of Motown legends. The women filed a lawsuit seeking $50 million in damages, a figure that immediately underscored the seriousness of the allegations. According to reports, the case was complex and highly publicized, with many closely following each development. For Robinson, the accusations were shocking, both personally and professionally. He addressed the claims in a candid interview, describing them as bulls, and vehemently denying any wrongdoing. "I have lived my life with integrity, and these accusations are false," he told reporters. The words reflected not only his frustration, but also his desire to maintain his reputation and protect decades of work and legacy. Robinson's denials did little to quell the public discourse, as debates erupted on social media and talk shows, with supporters and critics alike weighing in. The legal proceedings have been slow and meticulous, as lawyers for both sides prepare for what promises to be a high-profile trial scheduled for October 2027. The case has brought attention to the challenges faced by public figures in navigating personal accusations while in the spotlight. Robinson's legal team has emphasized the need for evidence and due process, highlighting that these matters must be settled in court rather than in public opinion. People.com reported that the lawsuit is ongoing, with both sides gathering documentation and testimony to support their claims. This controversy cast a long shadow over Robinson's career, which had been celebrated for decades of songwriting, singing, and mentorship. Fans of Motown and music historians alike watched closely, reflecting on the stark contrast between the artist's public persona and the serious allegations brought against him. Robinson himself remained measured, expressing both disappointment and resolve. "I never imagined my life would be scrutinized in this way," he said in an exclusive statement, "but I am confident that the truth will come out, and my focus remains on my music and the people who have supported me over the years." As Robinson faced intense legal battles, he was also quietly working to rebuild bridges with the Temptations. Reflections and reconciliations. In their later years, Smokey Robinson and the surviving members of the Temptations took moments to reflect on a shared history that had been both extraordinary and complicated. The highs of chart-topping hits and sold-out shows were tempered by creative conflicts, personal struggles, and the pressures of fame. Yet through it all, there remained a bond forged in music, ambition, and mutual respect that could not be broken. Occasional reunion performances and interviews became windows into that enduring relationship. Watching them on stage or listening to them speak about their early days, it was clear that the connection had never truly faded. Otis Williams, in a 2025 Instagram interview, captured it succinctly. Smokey was more than a producer, he was a brother. Those words echoed not just a professional partnership, but a personal loyalty that had withstood decades of turbulence. Robinson, reflecting on his long career, expressed gratitude for the opportunities and experiences he had shared with the Temptations and Motown at large. In an exclusive conversation with People, he said, "I tried retiring one time and it didn't work for me, man." He was referencing a one-year break back in 1972 after massive hits with the Miracles such as Shop Around, Tracks of My Tears, You Really Got a Hold on Me, Tears of a Clown, and I second that emotion. That break was meant to focus on family and his executive role at Motown, but music was never far from his heart. It didn't stick, he admitted. Robinson stayed at Motown until 1990, producing mid-career hits like Cruisin', while continuing to write and perform. "I'm living my impossible childhood dream," he said. "I'm doing what I love, and it's a blessing." His words reflected a lifelong passion for music that had carried him through every triumph and trial. "I love music, and I always have, before I even knew that I was ever going to have a career," he added. He described growing up in a household where music was a constant presence, from blues to gospel, jazz to classical. "I grew up in a music home. Music is very, very, very essential through my life and in my life. So yeah, man, I'm a music lover." Even at 84, Robinson's work ethic remained tireless. "I'm always working on music, man. I do it all the time," he said. His reflections were filled with gratitude for the people and moments that had shaped him. "There are 2 days that are profound in my life. The day I met Berry Gordy and the day he started Motown," Robinson said. "I've had a wonderful, wonderful life, man, and so many wonderful events and things that happened. There's been a lot of negative too, but the positive outweighs the negative as far as I'm concerned. But as their stories converge, let's talk about their legacy and the full measure of their impact on music and the lives they touched." Legacy and redemption. As they approach the twilight of their careers, Smokey Robinson and the Temptations are more focused than ever on the legacy they will leave behind. Decades of music, countless hits, and personal challenges have shaped them, but their eyes remain on the future and the impact of their art. Robinson, in particular, is looking forward to returning to one of the most iconic stages in music history, the Apollo Theater. "The Apollo is very, very, very precious to me," Robinson said in a recent interview. "The Apollo is the granddaddy of black music. Ella Fitzgerald won the talent show at the Apollo. That's how she became popular. They played all the black artists for eons, people that were born before my mother. The Apollo is known for that. The Apollo is that place. It's traditional for black music. It's been the stepping stone for so many black artists, and I just think that it's a wonderful place for me because of that." Robinson's connection to the Apollo is deeply personal. Also, it is the very first professional date that I ever played with the Miracles, he recalled. "We were on the Ray Charles show at the Apollo Theater. In the lobby there's a mural on the wall with all of these black artists from way back when to modern day on that wall. So when we first walked in there, I told the Miracles, gosh, one day I hope we're on that wall. We finally made the wall." For Robinson, the Apollo represents more than just a stage. It symbolizes a journey from humble beginnings to international acclaim. So it's sentimental for me, and they're getting ready to shut it down now for 4 years, so I want to play it before they do that. And I would always go back and play the Apollo. It is a special place for me, and there's no place like it, he said. Performing there is both a homecoming and a celebration of the path he and his peers carved for generations of black artists. Even after decades in the industry, Robinson continues to perform, sharing his music with audiences old and new. Alongside the Temptations, he has influenced countless artists and inspired a love of Motown that spans generations. Their contributions are not just musical, they have shaped culture, inspired social change, and given voice to the joys and struggles of their communities. Reflecting on his journey, Robinson shared, "Music is my life, and I hope my legacy reflects the joy it brought to others." Despite controversies and personal challenges along the way, he has remained dedicated to his craft, using his voice and talent to create moments of happiness, connection, and inspiration. The Temptations, too, continue to perform, teach, and mentor, proving that their story is far from over. In the end, Robinson and the Temptations have transcended the trials of fame, the feuds, and the legal battles. They have embraced their histories, acknowledged their struggles, and continued to elevate music with authenticity and heart. Their legacy is not just a series of hits, but a testament to resilience, artistry, and the enduring power of collaboration. What do you think about Smokey Robinson's reflections and his thoughts on the Temptations' incredible journey? Share your thoughts in the comments below.